Here we are, people. Super freaking bright outside. Lovely day out. Headed to my mother's house where the race car's stored. Go put in this differential.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Alright, so we're here. E46 is all in one piece. We kind of have somewhat of a mess in the garage. My bench is all dirty. But I'm probably not going to film the entire process of dropping the old one out. I'll probably film more of the process of putting in the new subframe. But you guys probably have not seen the subframe at all, so let me show you what we worked out. Alright, so here it is. It's the E46 rear subframe with the Winters Quick Change Differential mounted in it. I'm going to give you some of the ideas on what we did. A lot of this stuff came from guys who already do stuff. Binks Industries, RTS, Micah. They're kind of the main guys who do rear Winters Quick Change Differential mounts. So my brother, Steven Garcia from Garcia's Custom Garage, is actually the one who built this entire subframe for me. He got down. We did a front mount right there on the bottom there. You can see that. It's pretty clean. Figured out. Boxed the front end because it's really just what some of the other guys do, but it reinforces because you have essentially cut out this giant tube on the subframe that was up here before. One of the other things is we add on these top pieces of piping or plating because you have to notch out the subframe on the bottom in order to get space for the axle to come through, because the differential sits up way higher. The output flange really just sits out way higher on this Winters Quick Change Diff, and the only way to get the diff to sit at factory differential height, you can see how it doesn't hang down very low. It sits pretty even with the bottom of it like the factory one does. You have to force this to go up. So we replated this in here, reinforced it on the top. I got to cut off a little bit more material. We also built a skid plate because you want to protect your investment. I'll roll this thing over, and then these are the back mounts here. So you got the 1, 2, 3, 4 mounts on the back. There's 2 on this side, 2 on that side, and then the 2 on the front. And then on the bottom side of it, this thing's really heavy. You can see our big fat stainless and mild steel, and then the bottom is stainless. Not for any reason, we just didn't want to go and drive to go get any mild steel for the bottom. So Steven just had stainless at his house. So I got to shape it up just a little bit more, but you can see it bolts into the main bolts, and this thing's pretty freaking legit. Steven did a great job, so shout out to my big brother. Thank you so much for helping me. But one of the issues we're going to run into is this sits way higher than the factory diff, so we're going to have to notch out the bottom, and Mike S has given us a lot of tips on this, so thank you, Mike S. Let's go get his old one out. Alright guys, here it is. This is what we're looking at right now. So here's the big differences between these two. Obviously one is a fixed ratio, the other one is a quick change ratio. You have to swap out the entire differential on this one, removing the axles, drive shafts, and all the mounts and whatever else might be in the way, possibly your exhaust. I don't know how your car's set up, but on mine I don't have to mess with the exhaust. We kind of mapped that one out ahead of time. This differential, Winters, in order to do the change in ratio, you literally undo these 10 bolts as you saw in my last video. You take this cover off, swap the 2 gears out, boom. You can flip the gears, get 2 different ratios depending on which gears you picked will determine what ratios you get low and high when you flip these. So a lot of modification has gone into the subframe, as you can really see. But it's all to make this thing work better. And so one of the biggest things you'll notice is the size difference. The good thing is that this is a pretty squared setup, meaning that the diff is not offset. The actual input flange on this is right in the center, whereas on the 36 diff, you can kind of see how the input shaft is a little off to the right from your view right now, the way we're looking at it. And so this is going to square up our drive shaft, it squares up our axles, and so I don't anticipate us having to do too much to the spacers or much to the drive shaft in order to get it to all work in there. But it should be pretty rad. Biggest differences between these two subframes is all the fabrication that went into this one here on the left, but also the Condor Speed Shop bushings. Now Condor, luckily we went to Florida to go visit them. You guys saw that video. They gave us a package of subframe bushings already for this one, so I have to burn all these bushings out and then do some coating and stuff, and we'll see where we go. But let's go get it inside the car. One of the other things I got asked when I posted this on Instagram was how much do they weigh? Ah, dang it. This one is, you gotta take my word for it, 107.1. I'm gonna put this one on the scale and see what it weighs. Scale says 125.5. So 107, 125, roughly 20 pounds, 19, 18 pounds, 17 pounds heavier, but the availability to have more strength and more adjustability, hands down better, not as strong, no ratio changing. Also, there's a little bit more metal on this subframe now than there is on that one. With all the brackets, also the actual stainless steel skid plate, so I'm sure that adds to the weight, but roughly 20 some odd pounds, or actually no, it's in the teens, sorry. Somewhere around 17, 18 pounds heavier is this one than this diff, but it's not that big of a deal. I'll take the extra weight, put some weight on top of those back tires and get a little more traction out of this thing. So there's your weight numbers. Alright guys, so I got the diff in. Let's check it out. I'll show you what I had to do to get it to fit. I should be able to get in here and just sit up because I don't have the floor in the trunk. Yep, yes I am. Alright, so the floor inside the car, I had to notch it in order to get the diff. It just sits just barely higher than the floor, almost to the point where I probably could have smacked it and kind of bowed the floor. But I definitely wanted to cut it, and what I'm thinking is we'll press this thing back down and we'll cut out some plates and get the little plating put in here, some little rainbow pieces on both sides here, and then this will be all stitch welded back down or completely welded. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to want to do. But the diff is in. I kind of hit it with the Sawzall there a second. Ooh, sorry guys. A lot of cutting had to go into just this area really. Everything else all under here fit in no problem. Everything worked under here. The drive shaft, I already checked it out. It's actually just gonna have to have the rear end just pretty much just cut off and then have the new 1350, I believe, U-joint and put on it with the U-joint, and then the should fall right in there into the input shaft on the differential here. But all this tubing cleared. There was a brake line we had to move. You can see it, it went straight across the center, so we relocated it to the front of the subframe, so now it's not in the way at all. Skid plates on there, everything bolted right in. It was a little bit tight up here on these front bushings, but that's no big deal. We still got it to fit. Also, the other thing is the axles. The actual M3 E46 axles are the same bolt pattern as the Porsche 930 axles, or output flanges there on the diff. And so on the last one, for those of you guys who followed the build, I don't know if I really talked about these, but these were spacers, and what these were essentially, because the E46 chassis is wider, we put these onto the axles to compensate the difference in the chassis width, and then this would pretty much stop the axle from hyperextending. I think I talked about them. I didn't really show you guys them. But these are the spacers, and so this side is cut to fit onto the axle, and really what I need to do is now get this side just trimmed, because it actually is really close to the right size and length. Get this side trimmed to fit into here, and you can kind of see just a little gap there, and then there's a little lip that's off of this output flange, so I want to cut that flange out and get this to sit flush. And once it sits flush, it's pretty much dialed. None of the proper arms, we're not gonna have to change any of that stuff, so that should go right in. So we're getting pretty freaking close. I'm really excited to see where this goes. The diff's super dope. It fits in here perfect. There's really not any problems I'm having with it. Just had to cut out the floor. That was the biggest problem. But other than that, now I got to take everything out, send it all over to the different companies that are going to work with us to get the drive shaft fixed, to get the axle spacers retrimmed. And then the subframe, I'm going to send it off to some kind of coating. I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet, but I kind of want to know what you guys think I should do. I have an idea, and I don't think anybody's going to guess what I'm actually thinking. So if you want, try to guess what I'm thinking I want to do with the color or the finish on the subframe. I think it's going to be dope. But if I do the subframe with the finish that I'm thinking, or the color that I'm thinking, I think I'm also going to do the proper Fabworks arms the same. And so This thing turned out really good. It fits right in here, no big problems at all. Everything worked out really well. I got nothing bad to say about this. It was a little bit of a project, but nothing to really be too afraid of if you wanted to try to do this yourself at home. As long as you got a good fabricator on your side, anything's possible. Alright, my dudes, as always, don't forget, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. Leave a like. I don't know. I don't really know how to do this. Just tell your friends about it. It's really the biggest goal is to just get some more subscribers so we can get some more partners and keep doing sick stuff like this. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe out there. Later.